Good morning. I'd like to tell you something about the PneumaSox, a new way to put pressure on a leg. I do have a small conflict of interest. The company developing this system has paid for my travel over here. We are in London, beautiful city with beautiful and tasty food. Fish and chips, of course, and Indian food, both my favorites. And I wanted to taste them both. The first one has already succeeded yesterday, and the other one I still want to taste. So the organizing committee, Paul Snelders, it's a bit of pressure on your shoulders, but I want to taste Indian food. And if we're talking about pressure, you can't pass Pierre-Simon Laplace. He wrote the laws about pressure, tension in a fabric. This is his birthplace in Beaumont-en-Auge in Normandy, the statue they put there to honor him. And he is the founder of all the theory behind stockings, bandages, self-adjusted compression devices, because this is his law. He says the pressure is, of course, determined by the tension in the fabric and the radius of where you put the tension on. You have elasticity, stiffness, and hysteresis. Those are the components of classic compression. But you also have Pascal. Pascal did a very famous experiment. He put a barrel and put a long tube in and he started filling it up. And everybody thought, well, it's just going to overflow. But instead, there was a huge hydrostatic pressure and the barrel burst. So his law tells us that the pressure is being built up, and in a hydrostatic system you have this pressure building up, and if you have air, the pressure is equal in the entire system. Completely different approach to pressure. And then I met this man, Alfred Obermeier. So he said, I can do something with this water pressure. If you stand in water up until your neck, you have a huge pressure on your ankle, about 110, 120 millimeters mercury, depending on your length. And he said, well, I can use this for compression. So we built a system with a bag and a small tube with water in it, and a kind of plastic stocking around the leg. And the pressure was indeed 110 millimeters mercury standing up. Not very practical, but very successful. People who had very painful ulcers, they were able to have this compression because the pressure is equal from all sides. So they no longer feel the pain when there is like a smaller circumference locally. Although not very practical. It is usually suitable for people in a wheelchair, for example. But when you will walk with this system, not very practical. So we have thought we can do this easier. I want a system that just simple, keep it as simple as possible. I don't want all bells and whistles. I just want something that works and that's easy to use. So we have the elements. Now we already know that air works. I wouldn't want a fire compression on my leg. Earth compression, probably not. But air might be a solution. I asked AI, we're in the age of AI. I said, AI, tell me, what can I build? I want an air compression stocking. Well, this is what I got. Now, this is what I got. It's the PneumaSox. Simple. It's just one air chamber, Velcro, you put it on, you inflate it, and it's done. And that's what I like about it. It's very simple. No bells and whistles, no external devices, whatever. And everybody can do it. If you ask patients, can you don this stocking? They can. They only have to see it once or twice and they know what to do. So once again, keep it simple. Sound doesn't work. But everybody knows this scene from the famous South Korean series, Squid Games, red light, green light. And that's what we did. You put a simple light on. You start inflating, it's green, 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 red, stop pumping. Everybody understands. Even the elderly, everybody can see this. Once again, keep it simple. But then, does the system do what it promises to do? Because I can give an interesting talk over here, but you want to know it actually works. So we did some experiments. We tested the pressure in the PneumaSox and also the interface pressure underneath the PneumaSox. With 30 people, so 60 legs, and we started to see a pattern. So then you get a graph, and of course the blue dots is before inflating, and you see a little bit of pressure on the interface pressure, but it's logic because you already put the stocking on, so there's some tension in the fabric already. Then we inflate it, so we got the red dots. There's a strong correlation between the pressure in the PneumaSox and the interface pressure. The interface pressure is slightly higher, once again due to the tension in the fabric already present. Then we made them do 10 tiptoes. Then you see the gray dots, of course, the pressure drops because a lot of venous volume is gone and some edema is gone. There's also still some hysteresis in the material, which has also come in effect. So then you have a lower pressure, but once again it correlates between the two, of course, you expect that. And when you wait a little bit, the pressure starts building up again because of the venous volume returning to the leg. So that part of the thing, it works. Then we did another experiment because we were interested in, well, you pump the system, then it will deflate slowly. We know this from, for example, short stretch bandages. You apply them, you got 60 millimeters of mercury, and an hour later you lost 30% of your pressure. Well, we thought this will also happen with PneumaSox. So we did another experiment. We measured every minute for 30 minutes what are the two pressures, interface pressure, pressure in the PneumaSox. We got a very interesting graph. These are all the subjects, and there's a strong peak of pressure loss at 1 minute, and a little bit at 2 minutes, and then it's stable. So we now know that when you don the PneumaSox, you have to inflate it, the light turns red, it's done, wait 2 minutes, and inflate again, because you lose about 10 millimeters mercury in the first few minutes, which is of course again very logical, because you reduce venous volume, the material still stretches a bit due to the hysteresis, and you will also lose some edema if present. And then it's a very stable system, and people can also check if it's okay. If they think, it's not as tight as it should be, they just plug in the pump, small hand pump, they look at the light, oh, it's green, I need to pump a little bit. Simple as that. Once again, keep it simple. We also check between B1 and C. Are the pressures equal? Because that's what you expect. When you put an air bladder around the leg, it follows the shape of the leg, and you should expect the same pressures. And indeed, they are almost the same. So once again, you see all these points, but these clouds are more or less together. So the pressures in the interface in the PneumaSox are the same, and also the pressures between B1 and C. Some of you might think, this is not good. You're putting the same pressure on B1 as on C. We were all taught to do it the other way around. Not. This is a paper which changed my view on compression. Because what they said, you can of course do a graduated compression bandage, okay, but you can also do it the other way around. So put more pressure on the C side. They indeed saw difference in the pressures, but the last slide, that's the one that really impressed me, is the ejection fraction. You have a base ejection fraction, you put on a classical graduated compression bench, and of course the ejection fraction rises, it works. But if you do it with a non-graduated compression bench, it even works better. So I think if we have people who have healthy legs, who have a good calf muscle, put more pressure on the C sides, not on the B sides. Use the stiffness of the material. And that's also what we found in PneumaSox. So I'm not afraid to put a system on the leg which has a higher pressure or equal pressure on C compared to B1 and B. These are all the insurance companies we have in the Netherlands. We have a lot of insurance companies. And up until now, it was always like money, 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 money. It's always about the money. But something has changed in the last year. We're talking with these insurance companies and they are telling us, well, we got money, but some things you can't buy if it's not available. A nurse, there are no nurses. We are short of nurses. And you can throw more money at the system, but when there are no nurses available, it doesn't work. So what they say is, the nurse is way more important. This nurse is very important, it's male nurse, but way more important than the money. And what they said is, if you can give us a device which lets the nurses do their job better, faster, and do the more important things instead of donning stockings, which is not the prime job for a nurse. They can do better things with the time. So they said, be welcome, we want to do this. And if the device costs a little bit of money, well, you have to spend money first to earn money. And it's revolutionary. The insurance companies are now telling us, we want to work with this, we want to change this. And of course, if you look at the time necessary to don the PneumaSox compared to bandages, we have had a team of very experienced nurses, and they used the system. We told them twice, put on the PneumaSox, so now you know how it works. And bandage took them an average of 154 seconds, and PneumaSox only 53 seconds. So it's even a lot faster to don it. And it's not the only tool we have in our kit to treat wounds, because of course normal stockings, bandages, Velcro, everything works. And I'm not telling you to use PneumaSox for each and every patient. But if you have a patient, you can have it and you can handle it. And you have a patient who has a very painful ulcer and can't take normal compression, this could be a system which you can then use. So it's one of the new tools in the kit. And we are at ICC, and ICC is important to me because ICC is a club where we share knowledge, and we pass knowledge on to the next generation. And that's what happened to me as well. Because I started with Dick Tazela. He's a phlebologist from Heerenveen. It was in about 2000. He taught me a lot of things about compression therapy and leg ulcers and veins. And he sent me to Martina Neumann. And he said, okay, I'm going to teach you dermatology, I'm going to teach you a lot more phlebology. And in 2008, Neumann sent me to a meeting in Paris, and I met this man. We first picked a fight, but after we settled that, he taught me a lot about compression, and he gave me new insights in compression. And now you see these three people, and of course there's one missing. Because when I was at all these meetings, it happened many times. I was talking to friends, to colleagues, and I got a tap on the shoulder, and I heard the famous words, the well-known words, es freut mich Ihnen hier wieder zu sehen. En zo heb ik gedacht, if you are so great, and at the same time so humble, you truly are the greatest phlebologist of all time. Thank you for your attention.